Hey, gang, I want to tell you about True Hemp Science full spectrum CBD products. They are fantastic. I've been using them now for a couple of months. I've used their balms. I've used their oils to sleep. And today I'll be talking about a whole new product. Now listen, True Hemp Science promises you premium quality, pure ingredients, and true value. They source the highest grade organic hemp from around the world to handcraft the finest full spectrum CBD products. They offer a complete line of CBD products, including full spectrum CBD oils, tinctures, CBD skincare lotions, CBD sports rubs, CBD gummies, and CBD gluten-free chocolates. They number their CBD products to differentiate them by strain, by farm, and by extraction method. Now, last week I was telling you about the number 81, which is great for relaxation and sleep. But today I'm going to be talking to you about number G41. That's full spectrum CBG plus CBDA plus terpenes. Now, this has given me some focus. It has some CBD in it, but it doesn't make you sleepy or tired or foggy in any way. The CBG kind of gives you some focus, and it energizes your brain while keeping you calm and cool. You know what I'm saying? People report it relaxes their brain and does not affect cognitive performance. While it is calming, it is less physically so than CBD. It's great for working. It's great for getting your work done. I'm even using it right now. So, gang, How Did I Get Here is partnered with True Hemp Science full spectrum CBD products. And if you use the code HDIGH, you will get something special. Purchase $65 worth of regular price products and receive 296 milligrams of number 81 distillate. That's the one I was telling you about. That's great for rest, relaxation, and sleep. Just go to truehempscience.com/HDIGH for How Did I Get Here? And you can also visit them at their brick and mortar store. That's right. They have a physical location right here in Austin at 505 West Mary Street, Unit C, Austin, Texas. Don't forget, use the code HDIGH. If you're already using CBD products, switch over to this one. I promise it's going to be great. You're going to love it. All of these products are great, and the CBDA is unbelievable. Like I'm telling you, I feel very clear. I feel very focused. I haven't been drinking a bunch of coffee all day, and I'm not all anxious from coffee. You know what I'm saying? TrueHempScience.com, HDIGH. You're not only getting yourself some CBD, but you're helping us out here, right? By using the code HDIGH. TrueHempScience.com. Go get your full spectrum CBD products today. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right. Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all been having a good week, whatever it is you do during the week. The show is dropping on Wednesday because I'm dropping 3 shows this week. That's right, 3 shows. I want to thank everyone for the feedback that I got about Monday's show with the legendary Mr. Bob Livingston from the Los Gonzo Band. Great conversation, man. You know what's funny is that one was like an hour and a half, like a solid hour and a half straight. And there was a couple people that wrote they wished it was longer. Yeah, me too, man. I actually had a really good time. You know what happened was we wouldn't have stopped except for the guy. I had 2 booked that day, and that guy showed up. The guy showed up early, and then we had to end it. Anyway, go check it out. That's episode 1144. Guys, I'm doing this intro on Tuesday because I'm playing a show with Skyrocket tonight. Stoked to be back to work. Whew, man. It's a dry that was a dry February. It's always good to be back to work playing shows. We're playing a private show on Rainy Street tonight, which should be a lot of fun, even though it's going to be a little cold. I don't mind. I'm glad to be playing. And also, hey, I want to let you know that if you live in San Antonio, Skyrocket will be at Sam's Burger Joint this Friday, March 11th. We start at 9 p.m. If you live in San Antonio, come on out. Check it out. Always a good time over there at Sam's. Gang, I have a great show for you today. A great show. Singer-songwriter, author, teacher. He's a lot of stuff. Darden Smith. He's an artist. That's what he is. Darden Smith is an artist. Just that. Just an artist. He makes art out of everything. We'll get into that in a second. Darden Smith returns to the show today. He was on a few years ago. when he had put out his book, The Habit of Noticing. Great conversation. He is actually just released a new book called Western Skies, but he also has an album that accompanies it that comes out on March 25th. But the book Western Skies is it's a book of photography that he did with a Polaroid that he found, lyrics, kind of poetry, essays. The guy's just always in a state of creativity. During the pandemic, during 2020, when everything was in lockdown, he started driving from Austin to Arizona to work with a nonprofit that he co-founded called Songwriting with Soldiers. And on those drives, he started sort of like, I guess, noticing things, like he wrote in The Habit of Noticing, and taking photos along the way and writing his feelings and writing what he was going through at that time in his life. And it's beautiful. The record is absolutely gorgeous. He's got 2 singles out now. One song called Running Out of Time, another song called Miles Between. And he recorded it out at Sonic Ranch, and then he recorded some of it here with my friend Michael Ramos. The great Charlie Sexton plays on the record, the legendary Glenn Fukunaga, Rami Antun, and also my dear old friend, Ricky Ray Jackson. All those guys are old friends of mine. But Ricky Ray Jackson, he brings this atmosphere with his pedal steel, and so does Charlie Sexton with his guitar. This record, when Darden was driving back and forth, he was writing and sort of being in this expanse, of the West, of what happens when you go west of Austin towards Arizona. Like there's this giant expanse. All of that informs what he's writing. It informs the photos that he's taking. It informs the music that he made. And it comes through the pedal steel and Charlie Sexton's electric guitar really, really amplify the expanse and the space and the dreaminess of a very spacious expanse, if you will. Anyway, Darden Smith and I have a fantastic conversation. Fantastic. This record comes out March 25th. He's doing a bunch of release shows. Friday, April 1st, he'll be at the Mucky Duck in Houston. Saturday, April 2nd, he'll be at the Stateside at the Paramount Theater here in Austin. And he'll be at Sam's Burger Joint in San Antonio on Friday, April 8th. Go to dardensmith.com for all of your Darden Smith needs. As I said, the book Western Skies is available now wherever it is that you get books. I have a PDF version, but he brought over one of the hardcover versions. He couldn't give it to me because he was on his way to give it to somebody else. I guess somebody more important. But it was gorgeous. I suggest getting the actual physical book. But it is a beautiful book. His writing is beautiful. The photos are unbelievable. And you forget how amazing it is to do something with like a Polaroid and with film and with light, the light you have, and no filters. Just seeing what it is there, taking the picture. Darden Smith, and always an enlightening conversation. Always. When I talk to Darden Smith, I walk away inspired and I feel like going out and creating and doing stuff myself. So I hope you get that from this conversation. And without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with the amazingly talented and incredibly cool Darden Smith. Let's get down.
Lately I've been wishing that the world was flat. Walk out to the edge, let that be that. Fly through the sunshine looking for rain. Why is everybody thinking I'm insane?
Once again, great job.
Thank you.
You were on here last time when we talked about The Habit of Noticing.
Oh, right, yeah.
This was equally as inspiring. Even though I don't think that's what you were setting out to do, right?
To be inspiring?
Yeah.
No.
You were just kind of passing on your inspiration.
Well, my goal is always just to work, do things, and be interested. And out of that comes everything else. First, be interested.
Yeah.
Not interesting, interested.
Right.
And,
yeah.
And then because you're not interested, then the odds are no one else is going to be interested either. So first off, the goal is just, with Western Skies, it was after I put a record out in 2018, I think, 17, called Everything.
Right.
That was number 15 for me.
Right.
And I wondered if that was it. It's like, okay, that's 15 records. That's a lot. that's a lot of records,
Right, right.
And I just wondered if there was a need to put out more, if there was any interest in doing it again. So I really wasn't setting out to make a record on this one, and I wasn't even setting out to make a book. I was doing all these drives back and forth to Arizona during the pandemic, and
what's in Arizona? That was
I was still doing work with songwriting with soldiers.
Okay,
then.
okay.
I'm not doing that anymore. But at that time, I was going out there to do that work, and somebody had to do it, and we couldn't fly because of the pandemic. So I started driving out to Arizona. So I did 6 or 7 trips out there during 20, and during those drives, and like before the second drive, I guess, I was rummaging around in my guitar in my garage for something. I don't even remember what I was looking for, which is a part of the story, I think. And I found the Polaroid camera that I bought probably in 1985, and I hadn't used it since probably the early 90s. It was just one of those things that moved from apartment to apartment with me.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, Polaroid, wow, that's fun. I should get some film.
That's just expensive, isn't it?
It's just $3 a shot, man. And so I ordered this film. I got like 3 rolls of film. I got 1 color and 2 black and white rolls. The color film, I put it in there. It was okay. It looked cool, but it wasn't like that interesting. The black and white film, I started shooting with that, and I loved it. I just fell in love with it. And so I just started taking these pictures, and it was more than it was it was fun. It was just really cool. And the beautiful thing about Polaroids is that there's no manipulation possible. It's basically you have to frame it.
Right.
And then it's just you have a light and a dark switch. and then you just got to see something, frame it up, take it, and then it's expensive, man. It's $3 a shot, so it's roughly the same price as an espresso.
Yeah.
And so, which I'm into, and so it's funny, I took a lot of bad pictures, and then really I would start to go, okay, is this worth an espresso? Is the shot worth an espresso?
Yeah.
And then after a while of sort of getting the hang of it, I started not taking more pictures than I did take.
Wow.
Which was an interesting kind of realization because it's sort of the anti-phone phone photography method. Right. It's how many pictures can you take?
Right.
And you can always edit them. With Polaroids, you can't edit. And and it's expensive. And once you run out of film, you don't have any more film.
Yeah.
Until you order more. It's like you can't just sort of keep shooting.
Oh, they stopped selling it at...
No, it's just if you're on the road and you run out of film, you can't pull over and buy more film. There's you got to order it, and so it takes a while. So anyway, I was just taking pictures, and then I was doing these drives, and I started writing these essays on the drives, and started writing lyrics, even without a guitar in my hand. I just started writing lyrics, just sitting around writing. Started writing behind the wheel, which is something I haven't been able to do in 25 years, And so put all 3 of those together. He's cool, man. Hey, get out of here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's like a little thief.
What are you doing in my bag, dog? What's up with this, man? That's my stash, Johnny.
That's what I teach her, man. Hey, go in. When the person gets here to do the podcast, go in their bag and sniff out their stash.
Find
Sorry,
the
man.
stash. Yeah, right.
So
that's the deal.
Yeah.
Good dog.
Yeah.
So it was just this thing. I was doing these 3 disparate things. It was like the photographs, essays, and these songs. And then I put together like 25 songs. And I was going, okay, well, I should do some demos. And I was already going to be driving out there.
Right.
And so might as well stop at Sonic Ranch. And so I went by and checked out Sonic Ranch. Do you know? Sonic Ranch?
Yeah. I'm friends with Tony.
Right, so I went.
Everyone's friends with that. I like that.
I got the Tony tour, and hey, man, you want to see this gear?
Yeah.
Have you seen all of our guitars? And which gear bores me.
Yeah.
And guitars, I bring my own guitars. I don't really need. They got beautiful guitars out there, but I stopped off. I booked a few days at Sonic Ranch, and it was just me and an engineer. This guy Mario, who's out there, who said I think he said he'd worked with 1 or 2 other singer-songwriters ever. He's more of a band guy, and he's a punk. He comes from the hardcore thing, engineer, and he was young. guy, and we just went into the studio and recorded these 25 songs. And sort of on the second day of those recordings, I was standing out looking at, it was like dusk. And I just remember it kind of all came together, that what the songs and the photographs and the essays sort of came together. I thought it was one thing as opposed to three different things.
Right.
It was one thing, and it was a book.
Yeah.
With an album.
Right.
Not an album with a book.
Right.
The book holds it all together.
Right.
And so that was, and the book has photographs and the essays and the songs. So that's when it all kind of came together, was there at Sonic Ranch.
Did you, when you cut those songs, did you cut them to a click?
Absolutely.
Okay. Just making sure. Because you
yeah.
added a bunch of stuff then after that.
Right. So what I did was I had a method where I had my tempos and everything set up. Now he wants to play the keyboard.
Yeah.
So I had it set up where I would do the click, and I would do 3 passes. Like if it was a song with guitar, I'd do 3 passes, guitar, vocal, 3 passes with just guitar, 3 passes with just vocal.
Right.
That was it.
Okay.
I had to have it. If I didn't nail it in those, I wasn't going to nail it. And we had 3 days to do 25 songs too. So we did the loops, did clicks and loops. I had Mario put loops on quite a few of the things. Many of those loops made it onto the record.
Okay.
But I'd been listening to a couple of key records around this. Was first off Dylan's Rough and Rowdy Ways, which I think it was his latest record at the time. And it's got Murder Most Foul on it, and
right.
It's amazing.
That's the 15-minute.
17-minute.
Yeah, 17 minutes.
It's the most trippy. It's like, Picasso's Guernica or something. It's just this amazing piece of poetry. And anyway, but then I'd also been listening to tons of J.J. Cale.
Okay.
Especially the Naturally record, which if you listen to Naturally, it's drum loops.
Right.
It's like super early, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. I just loved it. It's like it was amazing how much could be done with that, just with 2 and 4, and you play around that. So that's what I had him set it up. I said, and I actually, he'd never heard it. This kid had never heard that record. So I played the record for him. I played him Call Me the Breeze, and I went, that's the model that we're doing here. You don't have to get I do not want fancier than that. That's it. And he goes, oh, that's pretty simple. I went, exactly. Let's go. And it was great. And so then we were able to build on top of that.
Afterwards.
After that.
Really quick, let me go back to these Polaroids.
Yeah.
So there is was there, since it was an old Polaroid camera, were there light leaks and stuff in it?
Were there what?
Light leaks? You know how if you get a
sure
Holga or something?
I'm sure there were. If you look at the Polaroids, there's leaks. And some of these photos, there were light leaks. There's different rolls of film will be different. You get 2 rolls of film, Polaroid film now. They'll pick up light in different ways. Sometimes you get a good roll, and sometimes you get a roll that's not as dark.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very imperfect process, and then
that adds to it, right?
Oh, to me, that's the point.
Yeah.
So, and I would my method so I would load it in, I drive around, and sometimes I would see things. I would be on the road, and I would see things I'd note like, that's cool. I'm coming back for that one. So because I was making all these trips, I could come back for that shot, and had a long list of shots. But what I would do is I would see something, pull over, get out, take the picture, take 1 or 2 pictures of a thing. Mm-hmm. Most of the times it was 1. And then I would get back in the car, take the picture, the whole picture comes out of the camera. And you got to keep it dark until it develops. And it takes 5 or 7 minutes for it to really about 10 minutes for it to fully materialize.
Yeah.
I would put it in the box and drive off. So I wouldn't get a second chance. So it was about that moment, did I grab it? And I missed it a lot, but I caught it a lot.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of money on film.
Yeah.
But it was it was fun because remember, this was in the middle of the pandemic when everything was upside down. And we were living so much inside of our technology.
Right.
And this Polaroid, those two key elements to this was the Polaroid camera and then a Moleskine notebooks, which is like two of the hippest brands you could use, of course. But also, it's very much old technology, which I think is one reason they're so sort of attractive and popular with people who are also inside of technology.
Right.
So it was almost going backwards. Not consciously, Johnny. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go backwards. It was like, it was just comforting. It was soothing to not be able to edit. It was soothing. And it was like, this is immediate. And as a sort of person who's working, these weren't made to show people as well. I didn't think I was ever going to show anybody these pictures. I was just making myself happy.
Right.
And I wanted to take, I was becoming familiar with things like live streaming and becoming a filmmaker in my home, and to make these concerts that we would put out into the world, and it was making me nuts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so the camera,
if you turn that on, that's a disco light.
I know. It's like
for my live streams.
It was so stressful, and I spent all this money on gear, and it was cool. It was interesting, and all these skills that I never wanted to have.
Right.
I had to learn them. And we all did. All the musicians.
And strip all that away to go back.
Strip it all away. And just like, I want to get to something that's like it's like you can't think about it in this technological way. You think about it from an actual seeing way.
Right.
And then allow myself to make a bad picture.
Yeah.
It's really free. It was so freeing.
Yeah.
And then there was like, I was writing these essays, like handwriting them in a notebook.
Right.
Which I'd love to do. It's like this real, I've got, I'm sure you have tons of,
the notes for the show.
We all have tons of notes, notebooks. And it was really calming.
Yeah.
And so the pictures themselves, the taking of the picture, the thinking about the pictures themselves calmed me.
Yeah.
So that it was, and I look at, I do a lot of drawing now as well. And
I love seeing them on
sketches.
Instagram.
What's that? Yeah.
I love seeing it. Yeah.
So to me, the Polaroids feel like drawings.
Yeah.
But with a camera, they're simple, and they're like structural almost. Think about them like this is like it's just sort of architectural. I guess I would say I'm turning my phone off now. So.
I was gonna say there's a thing I read in your bio about that. This isn't necessarily like a pandemic or 2020 project. But there's like this starkness to all those photos, like there isn't the chaos of movement and running around. And that kind of like when we all went into that lockdown thing, there was no traffic anymore. It was like this. It was like
an unbelievable time to be traveling.
Yeah.
Because I'm out in West Texas where it's not really popular, not a lot of population anyway.
Right.
And so there was no traffic on the roads in West Texas.
Right.
You could go for a long time without ever seeing a car. And I would, on these drives, my route would be drive from Austin to Marfa, stay in Marfa at the Thunderbird, and then go from there. There were many nights I was the only person in the Thunderbird, which made for great swimming.
Yeah.
But but it was very, even El Paso would be like, there'd be no traffic in El Paso. It was crazy, man.
So weird.
And so I was definitely affected by that. I was affected by trying to capture, I love that landscape and always have loved that landscape out in the sort of Trans-Pecos and even New Mexico and into Arizona, which is the photos are really between Austin and Tucson or Phoenix. That's where the photos all happen in there. And I've always, ever since I was 22, the first time I went out to 21, first time I ever went out to Big Bend, and I've just fell in love with that world. And my mother was born in El Paso and the whole thing, So, and so I was just trying to capture that. It's always, there's an openness, there's an emptiness, it reminds me of the first time I went snorkeling in the ocean where you can see see the bottom. It's like, it reminded me of the desert. Because everything looks like it's one color until you slow down.
Right.
Until you slow down and you get on the ocean, if you're in the ocean, you get on the ocean's time frame.
Right.
And the colors begin to appear.
Yeah.
And you realize that there's life there.
Right.
The desert is the same. It looks monochromatic if you just glance at it, until you actually slow down and stop and look at the plants or whatever, the stone, the rocks, and you see the color, you see the movement.
Yeah.
And that's what fascinates me. So how do I somehow capture that and get on that time frame?
Right.
And see the beauty in it, the beauty and the sadness that exists in the desert, the West Texas, the little towns. There's some sadness going on, and some big dreams, big hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
You go to Van Horn; it's full of hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And it's also full of some real dark, sad, bleak stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that going. I went to Marfa last year
Mm-hmm.
and saw Scrappy and stuff, and I got this feeling about it for the first time being there, that it was like this weird, like, place for people to go be fancy, and the poor place is just kind of falling apart otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the roads are just really like bad, and just like it's small. You know what I mean?
It's all slammed up against each other there. And
Yeah.
there's a
In a weird way.
in a weird and beautiful and cool.
Yeah.
In a way, it's like the new Taos.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a new Taos and the new the new Maui and the new Sedona.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it, man. I actually quite dig it out there.
Yeah. You know, when you were talking about being able to see the colors and everything for slowing down, and there seems to be some stuff about time, and I also remember reading this. I want to make sure that I get this right. Okay, that you see time differently as you're getting older.
Oh, absolutely.
How is, in what way do you how,
Well, a couple of things have happened, so I'm turning 60 in a few weeks now, in March.
you look great.
Thanks. I sleep in formaldehyde. No. So my mother passed away last year.
Sorry about that.
It was actually pretty
It's life.
beautiful. I was there. Yeah, I was there for it, and it was a really powerful thing. And seeing my mother pass away in the middle of a pandemic, all that matters at the end of a life, for a couple of things, even back up further than that, my mother lost all of her things, all of her house and all of her stuff in Hurricane Harvey. So, she had 8 feet of water in the house in North Houston. So all of her possessions were gone. All the things that, the memorabilia of her life, gone in a pile. Come 5 years later, she dies. And at the end of her life, all that matters is who you love, who loves you, and what you love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah.
And so that is in my sort of mind.
Yeah.
Aging, having had I've had a really good life, man. It's like I've been like super lucky. I've done some cool things. I've met some amazing people. I've been it's like I've traveled. I've had great gigs and all that kind of thing. I've had some really great bad gigs that are memorable. Great stories. I got some great stories about terrible gigs in New Jersey, and and so all that together made me realize, like, wow, I've had a great life, and so aging, it's like time moves in a different pace, and I don't know that it's slower. It's not sad. It just moves differently than even when I turned 40. It's just different. It moves different.
Yeah.
And it's like, I also feel like, okay, I'm turning 60.
Yeah.
80 is 20 years away, man.
Yeah.
And that's like the same thing. That's the same distance as 40.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get busy, dude.
Yeah.
Get busy. And so that's where the Dylan record, listening to
A really old guy.
well,
Yeah.
not only older, but when I started this sort of thing, I hadn't really done a lot of writing for myself in like a year and a half because I've been doing this work with veterans and doing this and writing sort of in service of other people's stories.
Right.
And I was going like, hey, man, Dylan, he's the same age as my dad.
Yeah.
And listen to this thing, this like murder most foul. It's like this dude is turned on.
Yeah.
Maybe I could turn it on a little more too. Maybe I could dig down. I've got all my faculties.
Yeah.
I've been writing songs for 50 years now. I started when I was 10.
Wow.
That's 50 years, man.
Yeah.
And I've got these experiences. I have friends that are really good songwriters that I can collaborate with.
Yeah.
Maybe I should turn up the heat.
Yeah.
And I have a finite, I don't know when the finite ends, but I do have a finite amount of time, which has just been realized for me through my mother's passing away.
Right.
So get busy. Get busy. Turn the hammer up. I mean, turn the fire up.
Yeah.
On myself.
Yeah.
Not as an outcome, not for a certain outcome,
right,
but for the thing itself.
Yeah.
Because I know that that's what I know that Johnny, it's like I'm into joy.
Yeah.
I'm into joy. I'm into beauty, I'm into joy, I'm into fun. Okay, that's what I want to have. I want to have those three things. I want to have some fun, man.
Yeah.
And I know that all the beauty and practically, I would say all, but like 90% of the beauty that's come to me in my life, 90% of the joy, and 90% of the fun that's come to me in my life has come through music, man.
Yeah.
And songs and work and the friends and the people and the experience. It's all about, I mean, music is this fantastic carousel.
Yeah.
It's just this way to move through the world that it's hard to beat, really.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's
totally.
it's just musicians are, when my mother died, who did I reach out to? My musician friends.
Yeah.
And they're so empathetic. Songwriters are empathetic. They're beautiful. They're warm. They're checking in on me. It's great.
Yeah.
And so, time moves in a different way. And it's like, go.
Yeah.
Go, man. I got friends that are shrinking.
Yeah.
They're slowing down.
Yeah.
At 60, and I'm like, I don't want that.
No.
This is it kind of relates. I've got this picture on my desk of this. It's a photograph of the artist Chuck Close, and I'm a big fan of Chuck Close's. He started in the 60s, very pop art, but he's never stopped. He's an interesting guy. There's been a lot of negative press about him of late, but he passed away a while back. But I read this article in the New York Times Magazine. This would have been 5 years ago, maybe. And so Chuck Close was in his 70s or 80s at this time. He's in a wheelchair, and he paints with his mouth. Okay?
That's the only way he can.
Because he's paralyzed.
Yeah.
And the writer asked him, why are you working so hard? You got all this money. Why are you working so hard? He goes, are you kidding? He goes, you realize that I can sell anything I make. Anything I paint, it's going to sell. Which is an amazing amount of freedom. I can do whatever I want to.
Yeah.
I've been working all my life to get here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stop now?
Yeah, exactly.
No, this is where I've been going, like,
yeah.
And he goes, I read this article about Paul Simon and heard this interview where Paul Simon, he goes, yeah, I'm quitting. I got nothing to write about. So I called him up because he goes, I painted his picture in like 67 or whatever. And I painted his picture. He goes, I called him up. I said, hey, the reason you don't have anything to write about is because you're not in the studio.
Yeah.
Get to the studio and you'll have more songs.
Yeah.
But you're not in the studio. And it was like this awakening. That's why I keep it on my desk. Like, get in the studio, dude.
Right.
Like, get in there and do it. And that is where the joy is. That's where the beauty is. That's where the next thing is.
Yeah. So is what you're saying now that you're going to make like album 17 and 18, 19?
Well,
or just keep on challenging yourself in the way that you challenge yourself in this?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is that I look up, like I started showing my visual art.
That's awesome.
About 2 or 3 years ago, and I never showed anybody. I've been drawing since I was 30. but it was just in notebooks because I didn't want to show anybody because I didn't want to be not judged, but I didn't want to put it out there because I put out, as a songwriter, you put your heart out there for some guy to step on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after a while, it's like, dude, I'm just tired of getting stepped on. I'm just going to hold this for me. Okay. Right. And you can't step on it. You can't see it. So you can't step on, and it was whatever fear, whatever therapy lesson that is. It's probably a $2,500 therapy session. But I started showing it, and I found that I really dug it, and I really began to sell things and a couple of gallery shows. So that's a big part of what I do now, and what I think. I got a bunch of lithographs from Western Skies. That's happening in a couple of weeks in Houston. Awesome. Yeah, and I took some of the Polaroids, enlarged them, and then we made a series of lithographs from those Polaroids.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's really fun. And
you're going to do a show at Bale's new gallery in Fort Worth?
I'm doing a reading up there in a couple of weeks. I don't know
Cool.
if we're going to do a show, but that was the first gallery I showed at was Bale Allen's gallery.
Cool.
And then I've done some stuff in Johnson City, and so I mean it's not huge, but it's a thing that I do, and I want to do more of that work. Songs are everything I do is songs are kind of in it. I love making books. It's a lot of work. Yeah. If anybody ever says, Johnny, you should write a book, hit him. Hit him. Run.
I'm not going to lie to you. Just Monday, my girlfriend said that to me.
You should write a book. Don't hit her.
And I was planning the book. She was planning the book.
I was planning it, yeah.
Everything.
It's a beautiful thing. Well, the great thing about books is they last in a different way than albums do and music does. There's a different texture to a book, which is really cool. I love it. I love them. I love books, man. So, but I like doing that. I have no shortage of ideas of things. I have mostly shortage of hours. Yeah. Which I think is an aging thing. Yeah. Which is cool. I mean, I think that's a really, really fortunate place to be. Yeah. To have more ideas than time. Yeah.
So somebody was just telling me the same thing about a book, and it sent me off. It was Mary Gaucher.
Oh, well, Mary. Oh, she's mine.
But she was off when I did the interview with her a few weeks ago. She was in Key West on a writing sabbatical. Book. Yeah.
We have the same birthday, same day, same year.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she's my sister, and amazing woman.
And you really you guys. I know that you weren't directly on that album, right? The album that she did with
the veteran
with Songwriting with Soldiers.
No, I wasn't on the record, but all the songs came from Songwriting with Soldiers. Right. Her thing. So, and I remember
Rifles and Rosary Beads.
Rifles and Rosary Beads. And I remember I was there when I was at that retreat when she wrote that song, and I wrote it with Jamie Trent, who's a friend of mine. And she didn't write Rifles and Rosary Beads. She wrote other songs. But anyway, I was there when Rifles and Rosary Beads was written. But, Mary's another person that she's like a real inspiration because she has a thing. She has a song thing. Yeah. Like in a big way. She's a truth teller. Yeah. She's an inspirer. She's a vessel for people who feel broken to pour themselves into. Yeah. Which is a powerful thing, man. Yeah. And we all have that in art. That's why we love art. We love music because we want to pour ourselves into someone's brokenness. Yeah. And that's why people love Springsteen, man. Yeah. It's like we can pour ourselves into Springsteen's brokenness and he carries it for us. Mary has that thing. I've never thought of it that way. But there's after a while songs, it's not that I don't think Mary wants to stop writing songs. Mm-mm. But songs don't hold it all anymore. She has more to give than a song. And it's a great, powerful I think almost all musicians they have more than one medium. Yeah. Whether it's, how many musicians are great cooks? Yeah. Like a lot of them. Yeah. Great cooks. They're painters, they're drawers. They do these other things. There's more than one medium, man.
They can also inspire each other. I can't remember if we talked about this last time you were on here, but do you know Jay Joyce?
I don't know. I've met Jay, but I haven't really hung around with him.
I got to hang out with him a bit at one point, and he played on some of my shit, and we ended up hitting it off and hanging out a bit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's
pretty good.
Yeah, slightly.
He could play.
He's a painter as well.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that he keeps the 2 rooms, like the paint stuff set up in this room and all the music stuff set up in this room. And when one's not working, he goes to the other room.
100%.
And one of them's always going to do something.
Right. You know, Guy Clark was a woodworker.
Yeah.
And I hung out in Guy's studio once, and literally he had a swivel chair. And he would write.
And he'd turn around
and work on wood.
Whittle.
Or work on build guitars.
Right.
And he would spin back and forth all day. He goes, that's what I do. Huh. You know, Dylan's a painter.
Yeah.
Johnny Mitchell's a painter. Miles Davis was a painter.
Yeah.
Louis Armstrong. Have you ever seen Louis Armstrong's art? Louis Armstrong would make art on, reel-to-reel boxes.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're amazing. They're like travel documents. So he would record these things in Africa and Europe or whatever. He would make like collage the box that held the reel.
Yeah.
There's I have a book of them. It's amazing, man. It's really beautiful. So these people, and music is a great window into that. It's our window. Just like there's many painters that play music too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have great photographers like that.
Totally.
Danny Clinch.
Absolutely, Danny
Great
Clinch.
harmonica dude.
Yep, exactly.
There's a lot. Okay, so, all right. I want to go back to this album because the finishing of the album is pretty unbelievable. You got some of the greatest
a couple of players.
Dudes, yeah. But also, there's a friend of mine that's on there that I just adore, and I've known him for a long time. And I remember when someone said to me, like, this song needs pedal steel.
Ricky Ray Jackson. Dude.
And I said to my friend Jonas, I said, sure, who can we get? And he said, Ricky. And I said, Ricky, he didn't play pedal steel. And he said, he's spent the last year in his room just playing pedal steel.
What's his main instrument?
Guitar and stuff. But this is like back in 2008 or something. And so he comes in and he was amazing. And then has just gone on to just the haunting color that he puts on your record is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Him and Charlie, both so moody.
Yeah. And so because it was this weird recording time, it was really weird to make a record during this time. After coming out, we all fell in love with multi-tracking in the 90s.
Yeah.
One person in a room at a time making records like that. Then we all went, it's just way more fun and quicker and cheaper if we're all in the room at the same time.
Yeah.
So we all got back into that, and that's great. But then we couldn't do that. It was really hard to do that during this time. And so we had to layer it. And so it was me. Then we did the bass and drums, and that's Rami Antoon.
Yeah.
Who's amazing. And Glenn Fukunaga played the bass. Roscoe Beck played the bass on a couple tracks. And then we did Ricky. And the problem with someone like Ricky is once he begins to play, you want to hear him play on everything. And then we knew that Charlie Sexton was going to come in and play guitar. So you want to make sure and leave room for Charlie, because once you hear Charlie play, you're going to want Charlie on everything too. And so it became the burden of riches is that we had so much incredible texture between those two guys.
Yeah.
And, each of them bring this thing. And once Ricky knew that Charlie was playing on it, it actually, he said, oh, okay, let me change my tone here. He actually changed his settings when he knew Charlie was going to be playing on the track too.
I know that they've done some stuff together.
They totally, it was I was like, wow, that's really interesting that he can hear Charlie before Charlie's even in the room.
Yeah.
And so it was just really, I'd never met him before the session. Michael Ramos, who I produced the record with Stuart Lehrman also was a co-producer. Stuart's up in New York, and he did it. Anyway, so Ricky came in, and it was amazing. And for all the sessions when other people came in when we were doing the bass and drums, and then Ricky and then Charlie, I didn't really tell them. I don't really tell people what I want to hear ahead of time. I give them some reference points, some records I hear, And then I showed him pictures. I showed him the Polaroids.
That's good because
I showed him the Polaroids. I go, here's the vibe. Here's the vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I took their Polaroid.
yeah,
I would take a picture of him, of Ricky and Charlie,
Yeah.
at the session. But I'd show him the Polaroids, and I'd go, here's the vibe, and there's da-da-da-da-da, and go. And go, just go. And they're good. They know what they're doing.
they got the oral equivalent of that visual.
That was the goal.
They really did.
Yeah, they totally.
And not
Yeah.
nothing against anybody else, but their instruments are there to
Yeah.
bring this expanse to things, which is a sad like Ricky's pedal steel playing. It's fucking sad on there.
It's
man.
very
It's
sad.
beautiful.
And they're haunting, and that's why people
Yeah.
love the pedal steel. Like, I love the pedal steel. One of my favorite textural blends is the pedal steel and accordion. Like, you get those two things playing at the same time, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, he totally nailed it. But I don't want him to play country pedal steel.
Right.
It's like more like
Yeah.
Harvest.
Yeah.
I want Harvest.
Yeah.
And that
Like moody pedal steel.
Yeah, and I said I always tell people that was my first. I learned all the songs on Harvest and After the Gold Rush when I was in the 5th grade,
Yeah.
and I still hear drums and bass. To me, it all goes back to Harvest.
That's funny. Your piano playing is like that.
Very similar,
Like
to,
After the Gold
very
Rush.
similar
Yeah.
to and that's
It's real sparse and
Nils
real-
Lofgren. That's Nils Lofgren playing.
Oh, that
Most
is?
on, especially After the Gold Rush. That's Nils Lofgren. Bizarre.
That's weird. I always thought it was Neil.
No. Oh, well, I mean, there is somebody. He's like on.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the country?
Okay.
That's Nils Lofgren.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
And he didn't really know how to play piano. He, like Neil said, play piano. It's like, but no, I'm not. I can play piano. I'm not like a piano player, but I play songwriter piano.
Which to me is my favorite kind of I mean, I guess because that's what I play too. But
I like the way I cook,
yeah,
frankly. I like my food. What are you talking about?
but that's what I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I grab. I mean, obviously, I love great piano players too, but like, I love a person that has a connection. Like, there's a guy like Ben Montench plays like that.
yeah.
Like, he could be fiddly diddly diddling all the time, but he knows one note is gonna do way more than a lot.
Yeah. Somebody who's like, it's like she's not viewed as this way, but she's really incredible piano is Nora Jones.
Yeah.
The way Nora Jones plays piano is actually perfect songwriter playing
Yeah.
piano. It's like beautiful. And
Yeah.
the way she played on that Ryan Adams record, the Ryan Adams, I forget the name. It came out like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. It's like she played piano on the whole record.
I didn't know that.
And it's incredible.
Wow.
But anyway, thank you. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love that.
Jackson Brown. That's
Jackson
another
Browne.
guy.
Well,
Yeah.
that, to me, like I heard Jackson Brown's stuff as a sophomore in high school. That would have been 1978. So The Pretender.
Yeah.
And I dug way into that. So that's key and sort of like Harvest, After the Gold Rush.
Yeah.
Leon Russell, Carney. That was the first
I
record I,
remember
ever
that album.
owned.
Yeah.
It's got Tightrope and
Yeah.
and then the sort of Willie Nelson, Jerry Jeff, that sort of country thing, Towns, John Prine, but then Jackson Brown, kind of like the bedrock. That's the bedrock of sort of how I hear rhythm,
Yeah.
and how I hear what a song is supposed to do, and how I hear how you're supposed to sing a song.
Yeah.
That really is The Pretender. I mean, those records, Late for the Sky.
Yeah.
And Running on Empty was a big record. I listen back to it now. It doesn't do as much for me now. At the time, it was off the chain.
Yeah.
But I recently saw Jackson when he came through town and did Austin City Limits a while back, and it was incredible, man. It was just,
He's incredible.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he's
and
incredible.
his band was ridiculous.
Oh, really? Was it like Lee Sklar and this?
No, it was Bob Glaub.
Okay. Yeah. It's one of those guys.
Jeff Young and
Yeah.
all those guys. It was just like, wow. It was, to me, I remember I went home and I literally, it brought me to tears, man. I went to that show by myself because my girlfriend was supposed to go and she had something come up and she couldn't go. So I went by myself. And I'm sitting there at Austin City Limits, and it was kind of cool. I'm there, and I knew half the people on the stage. I'd been around them. I hung out with Bob Glass, not like buddies, but enough to. I toured with Jeff Young. It's like
Right.
I knew that, and it was majesty. It was the incredible musical. It was like excellence.
Yeah.
It was like the presence of excellence.
Yeah.
And I was going, how lucky am I?
Yeah.
First off, to sit here and be seeing and witnessing excellence. And I'm not like in my career, whatever. It's not Jackson Browne level as far as notoriety.
Right.
But I know enough about music to know why it's excellent.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
And not only that, I know the people that are up there on the stage making this excellence. And I get to revel in it from an insider's kind of point of view. And it was the most incredible experience. I mean, I know it doesn't just happen. It takes practice.
Yeah.
It takes years. So you're looking at 400 to 500 years of collective excellence on the stage. And it was really and then Jackson, his songs and his voice, and not everybody digs it. There's some people that, don't like Jackson Browne. That's cool. But I'm sitting there and I'm going, this is like, mother's milk kind of thing, from a song and a rhythm and a what you can say in a song.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Jackson, for me, was the first person that one of those people that opened up like, what you can say and make it groove.
Yeah.
In a song. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And it was just really powerful. I went home and wrote it down because I'm like, how lucky am I to be in the presence of excellence?
Yeah.
And to know why it's excellent.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a cool thing. Because one thing to walk into an art museum and see excellence, you don't have a clue. You get it. It moves you, but you don't know what it takes to make that painting.
Right.
And just music. With music, like I happen to know enough about it.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that. That very thing is what made me not enjoy Hamilton to its fullest while I was watching it. Was just, I was just like, did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Like just everything. Like
how do they do that?
You mean if you're in the show, then the show never stops, and you're lifting like a table with another guy in this really choreographed way and taking it off, and another guy's coming on, while one part of the stage is spinning this way, and the other, you know what I mean? Like
I know.
And then the whole time going like, he wrote all of this shit.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
He wrote, and then on top of that, he wrote it all. It has a historical context.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most amazing pieces of like cultural art that's happened, which is why it resonates with everyone.
Yeah.
And it's so like, who would have thought? Like, I'm going to make a historical thing. I'm going to do it in a hip hop style. It's just like, wow.
It sounds terrible as a pitch.
Right. Can we call you back on that one?
Yeah, and not even like a guy that everybody knows. We're going to go with this guy Hamilton. Like, really? Like,
hey, man, good for him. That's how things change, And but I got to tell you, man, it's like the other Ricky Ray was amazing.
Yeah.
On this record, and he captured it. But I got to say, man, working with Charlie Sexton,
well,
it's like you and I know this because we know, and we're from Austin, so we know this. When you've worked with Charlie, I've worked with Charlie. So I've known, we've known Charlie for years, and he came in and it took 2 days to track his stuff, and I would just sit and watch him. If you do this for a while, do music, you get the chance to work with really good people. If you keep at it and you ask them, they'll say yes. Always ask the best people,
right?
Because they might say yes.
Yeah.
And they'll do it quicker and cheaper than everybody else.
Yeah.
The best people it's always cheaper to get the best people.
Yeah.
And, it always. It just takes less time. It's like, and it's amazing, And but Charlie, and I'm not trying to just like drop a name, but it's like he's probably one of the most fluid players I've ever worked with. Music,
not just guitar playing. He's one of the most fluid music people I've ever been around in my life.
His craft and chops, his vision, his idea. He's a master of his gear. So his gear doesn't play him. He plays his gear. And there's people that come in and they have the gear and it's playing them. It's actually limiting what they can do because they're in love with their gear. Mm-hmm. Charlie plays his gear. Mm-hmm. So the pedals are a key thing in his guitar playing. He knows where all the notes are.
Yeah.
But then there's this other thing that's happening, which is this gear.
Yeah.
That I'm not a gear guy. Like, a guitar tuner is about as complicated as I get. And so I just sat there and just watched him.
Yeah.
Like, unplugging cables.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
happening so fast, and his bracelets are jangling, and he's the most rock and roll looking guy you'll ever want to
Yeah.
see. Cheekbones for days.
Yeah.
But there was one song on the record called I Can't Explain.
Yeah. Oh, I have that written down.
And so it's I wrote it with Grace Pettis.
Yeah, who's amazing.
And Grace is incredible.
That song's like a fucking standard or something.
Well,
like,
it was written from that way, but
Yeah,
thank you.
amazing.
Because it was Grace's idea. The I Can't Explain, the first lyrics, the color purple, not red, not blue, and what is this in between, and all this mystery of love, and that was her idea, totally.
Wow.
She came in with that. She was talking, and I came up with the chords and the sort of the music and the structure of it in that. I mean, we're there together, pitching in, of course, but that when I wake up in the morning and play my nylon string guitar, that's the kind of music I play.
Okay.
I play standards and bosses.
expensive chords.
Yeah, chords
Yeah.
chords that'll keep you off the radio.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It's like it's like E flat or something like that. It's like
course it
third,
is.
capo on the third
Yeah,
fret,
yeah,
and
yeah.
all this weird chords and da 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 da, and
Yeah.
long notes on the chords, and it's strange. But Charlie listened to it. He listened to it. He said, "Play it again." Listen to it. He goes, "Okay, great." Unplugs some dits, and gets his guitar. He goes, "Great, give me a pass." Plays it without a chart, which is really weird. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
And then he says, "How was that?" I went, "That was pretty incredible." He goes, "I got to do it again." He did like 3 passes without a chart, and that just, to the common person that might not mean much to me. I was realizing I was in the presence of an astronaut. It's like, this guy, that's hard to do. And I asked him, I said, "So, no offense, man, but like that's pretty strange that you can do that. How did that work?" And he said, "Well, I did a lot of Dylan records."
Yeah.
So
Well, also-
the Dylan records of the sort of standards, the
Right.
Sinatra records. He goes, I never knew what was coming.
Right.
And so I had to learn how to play that stuff. And he
Yeah.
goes, "I don't know all the chords, but I know where these things fit together and the flow of that music and those chords."
Yeah.
He goes, "This flows like those do."
There is that. Maybe that's what it is that makes it like a standard. But you know what I was going to say is he can play it because he fucking. This sounds so weird. Like in the Star Wars analogy, like the guy's using the Force.
Yeah,
he's letting go
Yeah,
and just giving himself to the Force.
yeah. And it was as a president, I was like, I realized I was very fortunate to be in the studio that day.
Yeah, man.
But I was even more fortunate to have it be on a record that's going to have my name on it.
Yeah.
But everything else, it just doing the stuff, and he's one of those guys. He is a good lesson I think for young musicians. Always be nice. Show up on time. Have your gear. Your gear should work.
Yeah.
Don't bring your gear if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And have a good attitude, man.
Yeah.
Be funny.
Yeah.
If you can be funny, be funny.
Well,
Charlie's funny. He's all of those things.
very funny.
Very funny.
Yeah.
And it's a good hang.
Yeah.
It's a good hang. He's not messing around. He's going to joke around, but at the end of the day, chop, chop.
Yeah.
Tick tock, let's
Yeah.
go. And it's a great lesson for people. It's like, drop the attitude. Drop what you're here to do is serve.
Yeah.
I just loved it. It was amazing. And everyone else on the record, Roscoe, Mickey Raphael played harmonica on a track,
Oh, yeah. Legend.
it was
That's
like-
from Willie's band, right?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's funny. I actually met Mickey, 4 or 5 years ago, and was a fan, and it's a Mickey Raphael, so I've been listening to him since I was a sophomore in high school, or even before that, and Michael and I this one's on Los Angeles, and
That's a great
on
song.
on the record, and I was sitting in Michael's studio. I'm like, God, man, I don't know, it's really weird, but I've been listening to this French jazz harmonica player, and I don't know, for some reason I feel like this song needs harmonica on it. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, who should we get? All right, well, I could call Mickey, and he goes, really? I said, yeah, like, I know him. I got his number, so like I called him up and he's like, yeah, man, sure. Send me the tracks. Like that's how it's really, it sounds like to people who aren't musicians, that might sound really stupid and it might sound really sort of flippant, but that's the blessing of being around is that you actually do. I do know him. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
It's not like a thing. I'm not it's not like big game hunting.
Right.
I can call him.
Yeah.
And he might say no, but he might say yes.
Yeah.
And he did. And it was just great to like, so now I have this thing where there's like one of my amazing formative sounds in my head about music, Mickey Raphael.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And, Roscoe, who played on one song, Roscoe Beck and I go way back.
He's a great guy.
He's amazing. And he's like, it doesn't get better. Glenn Fukunaga is a great bass player
Great
as well.
guy,
So,
too.
Great guy.
Can I ask you this? Were Rami and Glenn together when they recorded?
Yeah,
okay. Because I was going to say, as much as piecemeal as it is going back to it.
No, that was, you have to have that.
Yeah. It feels very
organic
and very
you
cut
have
in
to
the same
have,
room.
I believe you have to have these days, unless you're making a loop record.
Yeah.
You really need the drums and the bass at the same time.
And it doesn't speed up and slow down, but the reason why I asked if you had a click is because it feels so human.
Well, it's Rami.
Yeah. I actually don't know that guy personally, but I've seen him a few times.
So he played with Seal.
Yeah.
I did a couple of he was with Seal for years, and then he has A&F Drum Company now. He makes drums.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's
amazing.
I saw him, sorry to interrupt, I saw him with Ramos. Remember that band that Ramos and George Reef had that played at the gallery, and it was like instrumental, like groove,
but I didn't,
improvisational.
I
It's
didn't.
awesome.
I wasn't around enough at that time to
I can't
see
remember
it.
what they were called, but that was a great.
Rami's incredible. Man.
Yeah,
he's amazing. He's L.A. from a family of I think he's from Egypt. I think he might have been born in Egypt, or he was born in L.A. His parents definitely from Egypt.
And he started a drum company?
A&F Drum Company. But also, what's cool is that I think he hears music in a different way because of his background.
Huh.
That's
interesting.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Michael said, he doesn't count to 4, man. It's like different numbers.
That's weird.
So things flow in a different way.
When you said that, I heard it in Michael's, like when he does his delivery shtick. That's a funny guy. That's
Michael's
like one of the funniest human beings I've ever met in my life.
He's very funny and very intense, and I've spent a lot of time in the studio with Michael Ramos. He's one of my great friends, and this is the second record we've made together, and it's amazing. He pushed me on this record.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm not interested in doing the same old thing that you do, so we're going to do this, which it lined up with what I want. He goes, we're going to do this, we're going to do it differently. I'm going to push you, and we're going to go for it. It's like, great, let's go. So, yeah.
Do you feel more comfortable being pushed by someone you know and you've been around for a long time, or by somebody you don't know? You know what I mean?
That's a good question, actually.
There's some people that I'm too close to them to
push me.
It doesn't work.
Well,
on
it's
me.
all about equivalent respect.
Right.
So if you respect somebody and they know you, and they're pushing you, and there's not an ulterior motive, and they're not pushing you just to piss you off,
right?
They might piss you off, but that's not why they're doing it. Then how cool is that your friend gets you enough to push you?
Right.
And there's also, I think there has to be a mutual understanding about the goal.
Yeah.
So the goal is not to piss Darden off or piss Michael off.
Right.
The goal is to make a great record.
Yeah.
And but it's also, there's, I'm producing the record as well.
Right.
With Michael, so I can say no.
Right. Well,
and
you're also the artist.
It's my record.
Yeah.
And I'm paying for it. So.
Yeah. I never worked with, I've heard horror stories. I never worked with anyone that was like, oh, fuck you. You're doing it the way I said. There's no one I ever worked with wasn't like, well, it's your career.
I have.
Yeah.
And it was an unpleasant experience.
Sorry.
That's okay,
but
man.
I guess I'm lucky.
It's a learned thing. Well, it's something that's good to learn, and it's life. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I survived. I still got dropped, but anyway.
I want to look over these notes. I love talking to you. And
Thank you, Johnny.
And this,
I love this thing that you do. I love this podcast. It's
thank
great.
you.
Yeah, it's great.
This record and book are just so inspiring.
Thank you.
Western Skies. The book will be out March 5th. This will be out around March 5th.
Oh, great.
And then the record comes out March 25th. You're doing one thing for South by. You're doing
I'm doing two
Lucy's?
things. I'm doing Lucy's, and I'm also doing Saxon Pub.
Oh, nice.
On I think the Tuesday night of that, the 16th or whatever. I think I'm doing that. Yeah.
Is there like a lot of people? Or are you doing
I
like
have
a
no
full
idea,
set,
man.
or what's the story?
I'm doing a band. So
cool.
yeah. So it's like I guess I got my own set.
When you play in a band, who's there?
It'll
now?
be Roscoe.
Okay.
And Alex Marrero.
I love Alex.
And I think Dave Scher is going to play with me.
Oh, yeah.
And
Great
I
dudes.
think that will be. And Ricky Ray might play if we can work it out. I'm going to have to rehearse, which is not my thing.
I want to come see that. That's a great band.
Yeah, and then we're playing Lucy's the next day.
Okay.
At like 2 or something like that. And that might be it. I don't know if there's something else comes up. It comes up,
But you're doing when this comes out, there'll be 2 singles available, Running Out of Time and Miles Between.
Yeah.
And Miles Between you wrote with Jack Ingram?
With Jack Ingram,
Yeah.
right. And there'll actually be more. By the time this comes out, another song called Perfect for a Little While
Oh, yeah.
will
It's a good
be out. I wrote that with James House, who's in Nashville. And James wrote Ain't That Lonely Yet and for Dwight Yoakam. And
Oh, really?
Broken Wing. He's got 6 songs on the new Joe Bonamassa record. He's an amazing...
Whoa.
Yeah, amazing.
And did he sing some harmony?
He sang all the harmony.
Harmony.
He sang
Great,
all the harmony.
beautiful.
I didn't. All the harmony I didn't sing. James sang.
Okay. Oh,
So,
the harmonies sound great on the
Yeah,
record.
like I
don't
did the
know- can't tell
harmony.
if
I
it's
did the
you.
harmony on Miles Between and Western Skies and a couple of those, and then James sang most of it. James is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention real quick too, I saw you've got you're doing the stateside at Paramount. Is that like a release show?
Yeah, it'll be that. Yes, that will
April
be April
2nd.
2nd. So
Yeah.
I'm doing some Texas dates. I'm doing Houston, Dallas, San Antonio.
Yeah.
In April. And then going to England in June. May I'm doing some shows. So, and then I'll probably I think I'm going to the East Coast in July. I'm getting back out there. I'm not doing a ton of shows, but doing some shows.
Yeah.
And got an art show. There's the lithographs premiere on March 5th at the Redbud Gallery in Houston, the
Nice.
Western Skies lithographs.
Where's that Redbud Gallery there?
It's in the Heights.
Oh, nice.
It's on West 11th Street or something like that. East 11th Street. It's in the Heights.
It's not that new, right?
No, it's been around for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the
I've been there for
Redbud
something.
Gallery,
Yeah.
and it's great. They've had a lot of musicians show art there. Bob Schneider's shown there, Joe Ely, Sam Hurt, who's the I-Beam. He had a show there
Oh, really?
recently. Yeah, and but it's great. They have been very. I feel very lucky to have my stuff shown in that gallery. So that's happening. So.
There's something you said earlier, and we can leave it on this, but you said that you'd had a really good life, and you have. And I think you've also made a really good life. Like you've been conscious to put yourself out there to have a good life. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
Johnny. And that's quite moving. I don't think about it that way until somebody brings it up.
Yeah.
But first of all, I had a really pretty stress-free childhood. It was not. It was pretty straight ahead. Grew up on a farm, then moved into the suburbs of Houston, and very traditional family. Not much music. I discovered it, but even from it as a kid, I think I was different than, especially people in my family. I was the weirdo, the youngest one.
Yeah.
I was the weirdo, and I wanted to get outside of my mind very early in life.
Yeah.
And, different, and then, drugs and alcohol in high school and, just went completely off the rails. I think and I was writing songs during the time. I think it was an effort to get out of my mind. I just didn't have a healthy way yet.
Right.
And I didn't understand it. And then once I discovered music and that I could control my joy, I could control it.
Yeah.
Life happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you still got to go to the grocery store and you got to everybody has to take the trash out. You know? But so you have the ability to control your life. And that comes down to controlling, not control your life, control your joy. And through that, that's a daily practice. That's a daily thing, man.
Yeah.
And you do that every day, like do something that like, and then you pay attention to who you hang around with.
Yeah.
And you think about, how do I make a living? And can I make a living doing what makes me happy?
Yeah.
And can I hang out with people that do that as well? And how do I do that every day? You put all those things together, and you look up and like, I think I'm on my 35th year of being a musician.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a long time, man.
That's a long time.
And I look up and like, I've been so lucky, man.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Lucky. And it's not all like glory either.
No,
I've got my bad gigs.
Yeah. We all do. Yeah.
I got great stories about terrible gigs.
Yeah.
But it's at the same time, it's like, I could have, we all have opportunities in life to take the easy road.
Yeah.
Take the easy road, the less risky road.
Right.
Those choices are there for all of us. And the older we get, I have kids and and bills and stuff. The choice is always there. Like, do I take the less risky road, knowing that once I get on that track, I can't necessarily come back to this other thing.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just have always chose, like, just take the risky road, man.
Yeah.
It's better. It's cooler. The people are cooler. There's more rhythm.
Yeah.
There's more groove on the risky road.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be stupid. I'm not talking about I'm not looking for train wrecks.
Right. Right.
I'm looking for the beauty.
Yeah.
And the joy.
Yeah.
And if I set my life up around that,
Yeah.
then and it is a conscious thing.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm like, somehow different than anybody else. I'm me, but it's like, I think that for me, the way it's worked out is that I do think about, how do I have a good life, and how do I set this up? And it's not about fame. It's not about money even. That will or will not happen.
Right.
It's about having a good time.
Yeah.
And making cool stuff. I want to make cool stuff.
Yeah.
I want to make cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to enjoy doing it. And I want to hang out with cool people. And I
Yeah.
want to hang out with better people. I want to hang out with the people who are as good as they can possibly be.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to, that's fun. And you do that, you line all those things up, and every now and then, like, you have like these lucky breaks, and that's a good life, man.
Yeah.
You still got to take the trash out.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Still got to do. Everybody's got a dirty closet.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to take the trash out, and you line it up, and you have a good life.
Yeah.
And that's I think it's a conscious effort, because it's very easy to, and especially I think if you're an artist, the darkness is easily accessible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could choose that too, man.
Yeah.
And I don't really want that.
Yeah.
I want to have a life that I look up and I'm like, having a great time.
Yeah.
And I'm able to do fun things. And every now and then I go to Paris.
That's where it's at. Well, man, it's great talking to
Thank you, man.
Great job on this book and record, Western Skies. Go to DardenSmith.com for all of your Darden Smith needs. Thanks again.
My pleasure, Johnny.
Why is everybody thinking I'm insane?
That's Darden Smith. His book, Western Skies, is available now wherever it is you get your books. Go to DardenSmith.com, and his album, Western Skies, is available on March 25th. Go check out the singles, Running Out of Time and Miles Between, available now wherever it is you stream and download your jams. Great conversation. Great conversation with such a great artist. I always feel inspired after talking to Darden. So I want to thank him for coming by. I want to thank him for taking the time. Go to DardenSmith.com for all of your Darden Smith needs. And don't forget, gang, when you're out there checking out the DardenSmith.com, you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is you get podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher, all the time. New shows every Tuesday and every Friday at least, or like this week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. 3 shows this week, all right? Thank you so much for listening to this show. I really enjoyed my conversation with Darden Smith. I really did. Go to DardenSmith.com, pick up his book, Western Skies, and get involved. Have a great week, whatever it is you're doing. Let's get down.
In the miles between. Lately I don't wanna open up my heart. It hurts when it's over, it hurts when it starts. I admit it, I'm addicted to walking on a wire. Don't tell me about the net, baby, let's get higher. Oh, there's miles between what you see inside my dream and reality. There's just too much noise, I lose my voice. Silence in the middle of the night is deafening. I'm lost in the miles between. Really don't matter if it's round or flat. I wanna spin off of the edge and never come back. Float to the bottom of the deep blue sea. Cause there's miles between all I see inside my dream and reality. There's just so much noise, I lose my voice. Still I keep talking and hoping that you're listening. Oh, still I keep talking, hoping that you're listening. I'm lost in the miles between.